Hello, everyone. We are back, and we're still currently waiting on the Emerald Dragon and everyone else to get ready and prepared for the stream. So please be aware.
Hey, hi.
I forgot the term. And looks like they are here. Hello, Emerald, and everyone else. All right. Would y'all like to go ahead and explain a little bit more about each of y'all, the devs of TerraZone, as well as if you'd like, you can share your screen and I'll put that up for the stream as well.
Woo.
Alrighty, and I got you pulled up so everyone can see you, and then also all of our tiny little icons.
Yeah, so Rob, I guess if you want to kind of start talking about a little bit about your game, that would probably be a good starting point right there.
Yeah. I know Draco is the vendor in the channel, but TerraZone Zero, so the idea originally came from me and these guys. If it wasn't for these guys, the game would not be what it is today. So definitely have to thank
Oh
them
yeah.
for all the help.
Yeah, so pretty much, yeah, the game started from Rob, and yeah, if you want to, I guess we could start back to how we started Mystic Mask Media together and getting TerraZone off of its feet a little bit. That'd be probably a good place to start.
All right.
I think you still have TTS open, so that would probably be a good
Yeah,
place to go.
I'll start the room. You can share it on your screen since I'm on the opposite computer right now.
Right.
Uh, I've been going back and forth between two computers this whole
All
weekend.
good. That works.
Also, Zero Budget Geek says, "Hi TerraZone, I met you guys at Metatopia."
Oh, nice.
Oh,
I think
really?
that's Animus. Yeah, that's Animus.
Oh yeah, he tried out. He was one of the people who tried out the game. I believe it
Yep.
was Friday night.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The game has changed a little bit since last you played,
Oh yeah.
but
Um,
we could say we're finally happy with the rules to the game, and now we're just tweaking effects. So I
do
have
you
I
want me
have
to?
it open and I sent an invite. I
Oh,
think
okay.
yeah
Yeah, in
that
which
way you
case I'll
can
just share my screen then.
yeah it'd be better since you still have it on your computer. I'm on the other one right now,
Right. Yeah, that works.
and I don't want to be like, oh, I'm gonna leave and come back, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess while she's doing that, I can explain the start of the business that we have going on right now. We recently changed our name to Mystic Mass Media as well, so that because we plan on doing other games aside from TerraZone, though TerraZone is going to pretty much be our ongoing big project that will continuously give new ideas and new updates to. It all started, I want to say, 2017. It was just me and Taitu here. We were like, "Hey, want to make a game?" And I was like, "All right." And so we were messing with this game that we may revisit in the future. And Taitu brought up, "Oh, maybe we should have like a name, a name we fall under, like a studio name." And I was like, "All right." So we spent a whole day like using the name generator thing, and we came up with Mystic Mass Media because we both thought, "Oh, it sounds cool. Let's go with that." About a year later, Draco was like, "Hey, I know these guys. There's one guy's really good with business, another guy's good at advertising, and generally good at the art field. So why don't we all pair up and create a business?" And I was like, all right. So we started a business, and we were like, we should call ourselves something. And then I was like, oh yeah, Taitu and I came up with this name before, and then I pitched it to them, and everyone was like, yeah, that sounds cool. And then from then on, we were just Mystic Mass Media. We did the official business paperwork and everything like that, and became a fully fledged business. Of course, it's on the young side, of course, because we're still learning the ways and still going with the jobs we currently work, and in our spare time, we're working on games. We decided to work on TerraZone Clash of Creatures as our big ongoing project, and we're currently finishing up this smaller game to release onto Steam in the near future. But for now, of course, during this digital convention, which cool, by the way, due to all the the COVID situation, it's really cool that we can get together digitally and all of us like card game enthusiasts and show off our creations and try other people's things out. So it's really cool that you started this up and we had the opportunity to do this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Thank you. I'm glad you're all a part of it.
Yeah, definitely want it to be. Wherever we can
Oh,
to
yeah.
check out what everyone else is doing and to show off what we do. Definitely jump on any opportunity we can. And of course, because of the whole, once again, because of COVID-19, like all of us are without a job for now because Draco and Taitu, they can't, and I left just to keep my family safe. So we had more time to work on these games and things. So of course, eventually one day we'll all go back to work. And
Right.
but we'll still continue working on stuff. We started establishing a really good momentum, and we're just gonna keep trucking along. With the very recent thing being that now Draco discovered Tabletop Simulator, brought it up, and we were like, because we were looking for a good way to show the game off to people, like in a clean, clear way. And when we checked it out, we were like, oh hey, this looks pretty solid, and we've had quite the success so far. Even just like everyone jumping in pretty much knew the system already, and it was just learning the basic rules of the game. So it's been a lot of fun, and hoping for more opportunities like this in the future.
Yeah, it was actually really cool. Like when we started off the business, I remember it was just like we were hanging out one day, and I remember bringing it to his attention, being like, "Hey, so kind of wanted to take the game to the next level." And I think we were playing Super Smash Brothers on the couch or something, and we're like, "Yeah, let's start a thing. Let's make your thing a reality." And we got a bunch of people together, and we were like, "Yeah, you could do this, you could do that. This person can do this." So we
Yeah,
kind of split it up that way.
we started divvying up roles. We originally had like 6 people, but we found the reason that like that was too many, at least at the start.
Oh yeah.
So we narrowed it down to us 3 because we were the 3 that had like the most, like we were the ones putting the most into the games themselves. So instead we kept the rest as like very close ties that are there for us when we need them. And all 3 of them have been very helpful in their own ways, and there's no hard feelings or anything too. So we kept it all pretty civil. We all kind of agreed like, yeah, it's a bit too much. But that's kind of how it is with a business, like I found so far. Like even though I have a lot more to learn, like I'm starting to get like understand how it goes. Like you go in and you're gonna make a ton of mistakes. And like some that are gonna be like, if you kept going, it would have been really bad. But you need to learn, I guess, when to stop, when to keep going, when to push, when to go back a bit, and we're all in the midst of learning all that stuff right now. And it can be a little intimidating sometimes too, because like you make these big strides, these big steps. Like we just took a big one recently, very recently, and it can be a little intimidating at first. But yeah, that's just the main thing is just like what I've mentioned in videos in the past. Like if you got a passion project, just keep doing it. Just keep going. Even if it feels like it's gonna fall flat on its face, like just keep going. There's no reason not to. It only fails when you give up. Like it's really the case.
I got this up and going now, so I got Tabletop Simulator with my screen going.
We also have it pulled up on the live stream as well, so all the viewers can see it.
Awesome.
All right.
So Rob, I have it set up as a top-down view. So if you wanted to talk a little bit about some of the ideas that kind of came to the cards, I think that would probably be good.
Yeah,
we have
let me join the stream first so I can see.
Sure. Of
I
course,
just
yeah.
realized, right, I have to click it first. Okay, there we go. You just want me to talk about like basics or?
Yeah, I think that would be pretty good.
Okay. So in TerraZone Clash of Creatures, we put a heavy emphasis on card placement because we looked at the other TCGs out there, like primarily like the ones that are doing really big right now. Like, you know, you got the big three and you got like some of the some of the pretty good ones, but they're not quite there at the top. And we noticed that there wasn't like a whole lot of emphasis on card placement. Like you can kind of, you know, summon this card wherever and it wouldn't matter whether it was in spot 1 or spot 3 or anything like that. So this current game has gone through lots of changes, but our Taitu brought up like, oh hey, what if we had a game where placement mattered a whole lot and you had all these spaces to control like an army of creatures. So we just started experimenting with it in early 2019, and we eventually came to this. So all those spaces there on the board, those are all spaces you can play a card on. However, when the game first starts, you only start with a terrain card. And the terrain card has arrows on it, and it could be up, down, left, or right. And so it starts off as like your first card, and you can play cards off of it, because you can play a card on any space that an arrow points to as long as it's empty. And each card you play to the field has an arrow scheme of their own. So the more cards you play, the more spaces you actually open up on the board. And you can play. There's no real restriction either. Like you could play as many cards as long as you have enough of willpower, which dictates the amount of creatures you can have out at once. It's a little similar to like a size rule or like a sum total, because every fighting creature, which is like the main fighters in your deck, they all have a rank, and if that rank exceeds the willpower, then you start losing creatures by default. So you always keep your will sum in mind when playing cards to the board. You could either have one big guy, or you could have like a few little creatures, and they both have their own like more. You have more attacks if you have a bunch of little creatures, but you have one big guy who's hard to take down and can pretty much punch anything out if you just have the one guy. But of course, they're not alone because they also have support creatures, and they're there to add extra power to your fighters. So creatures that are like weaker have an easier time taking out bigger guys. Have an easier time taking out bigger guys with the help of the support creatures. That's just a few things, at least very basics. I realize I probably should be, like, I think I can click and drag on this field and they can see, right?
Yes. It should
Yes.
Okay. Because I realized, yeah, you know, I should probably show some visual examples, right? So we have Volcano here as an example. I'm going to hold down the Alt key so you can see it bigger. It's got an up arrow and a left arrow. And the top left corner, we have these things called coordinates, where we have ABC, which labels the rows, and we have 1 through 5, which label the columns. And if you line it up, C5, you look at C, and then you go to number 5. This is the coordinate right here. So that means that that's where this terrain card gets placed. So, because we realized, like, oh, you know, if you were able to put the terrain anywhere, that takes a lot of like practice runs, and if you put a terrain in just the wrong place, like you could really like mess yourself up. So we realized, okay, let's assign a certain space on the board for these cards to go. Now, back to Volcano, it's got an up and left arrow. So that means this spot is open right here, and this spot's open right here. So I'll just like draw cards randomly. If it'll let me, 1 second. There we go. Oh, it's not letting me. Am I able to? Okay, I'll just do it this way. I think it's because we didn't start the game officially. So we could have a card here, and then Ferocious has an up and a left arrow. So now we have this spot here open and this spot open here. So it's like I can play another card right here. And you can kind of see how like the field opens up the more you play. And you also don't have to worry. In a lot of games, or maybe some games, like when creatures attack each other, or units, or whatever they call them in whatever game it is, usually take like damage sometimes. In our game, you don't take damage if a fighting creature dies, so it feels good to play creatures to the field, and they're there to soak up hits. Because in this game, you have what is called reserves, where at the start of the game you get to look at this deck right here, and you can pick 5 cards out of this to play in your reserves face down, and this acts as your life. So when a creature dies, you don't lose one of these hit points, which is kind of nice. So if you have like, you need a big field, you need a lot of attacks, you don't have to worry about, oh, they attack this creature and I'm going to lose a damage or something. Like I don't know how much, I don't want to spin people's heads around, because it's definitely something that you have to play personally in order to really understand. And we found out that there's a lot of basics to memorize, but once you get the basics down, each subsequent game goes a lot faster and a lot more smoother. You start picking up little new strategies, new tricks. Like I even learned one today while playing, and Draco and I have played countless games, like countless games, ever since 2019 started up. So, but of course, I don't want to hog all the spotlight.
Right.
If Draco, Taitu, you guys can chime in whenever you like, and of course, if you have any particular questions for me or one of my associates, feel free, Xyphien.
Yeah, we actually just got a question in the chat. Do you have turn summary card for reference for new players?
Actually, yes, we do.
Yep, right in this corner. There's a little white sheet. I think they can see that, right? Are they able to see that when I hold Alt? Or is the screen zoomed in too much?
Yeah, it's zoomed in too much.
Okay, I can bring it over here. Is it, I know there's a bit of a lag, so I'm gonna wait for it to show up. Well, anyway, there's the sheet. It is right there. It's just a bit hard to see, but when you're playing the game, you can hold the Alt key down. It'll zoom in on it, and it'll go over all the phases to your turn and what you're able to do during those phases. So for instance, like there's the wake phase where you wake up all your creatures so they can attack again. Then you go to your draw phase where you gain a willpower, and then you get to draw a card from your deck. We go over like everything you're able to do during those turns and during those phases.
MKVO also said the squad mechanics is pretty cool. One of the things that they liked most while playing the game.
Oh yeah, we have the squad mechanic seems a bit intimidating at first, but like it is basically the there's one fighting creature and that starts the squad, and then with the arrows, everything that fighting creature points to in a path is part of its squad, and you could even like link them together and stuff too with support creatures.
Yeah, we've been fairly happy with how quickly people have picked up on that mechanic. It never takes more than a game for them to figure it out.
Yeah, we were a bit worried at first because we marked it as probably the most complicated mechanic, but once you have that down, like everything else is a lot easier. And it's good that people have liked it so far and have understood it, because it is a very major part of the game. It's been a crazy couple days, I will say that much. We were crunching in this other thing early Friday, and then we were like, all right, first day of the convention, and then we had some play tests and really taking notes, taking all the feedback we can. So yeah, definitely don't be afraid to let us know everything you feel whenever you're playing. That goes to anybody who may test in the future or who may come back for another round. We're glad to hear any opinion is good. Is there anyone else asking any questions? Because I'm more than happy to answer any questions at this time, of course.
I don't see any, but if anyone has any questions whatsoever about the game, about them, or anything else, feel free to ask in the chat. Also, you can ask in the Discord server. I've been looking on both, so feel free to ask anything, and I will let them know whenever y'all do. MKVO says, what's the general theme or lore of the game?
The game is very grounded in an Earth-like planet. Since it's called TerraZone, we wanted to focus on the Earth itself. So there's a lot of people call them biomes, I think, right? Is that the word for it?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So you can imagine like multiple different biomes. So right now we have Earth, Wind, Fire, and Water affinities. So you can imagine the world of hills, which is Earth's terrain, the world of skies, which is the wind terrain. And we do purposely throw in lore stuff into our images and flavor texts to allow the viewers' imaginations to kind of run wild and be like, oh, yeah, what if this guy met this guy and what happened back then? Some very minor stuff, because I usually like to let people think about it and not give them the straight answer. But one example of this is in the water deck, or the water themed, with the water themed cards. There was like a big war, like 100 years ago. I think I made it. And in this war, there was an ancient underwater race that took battle, and a lot of other fish-type monsters as well did battle with each other. And then years later, their big boss, the veteran shark, is still around. And I put little things like flavor text, like, "Oh, he's the victor of so many battles, and his scars show it," and that sort of thing. I like to have fun with it too, because I've noticed other games do it too a little bit. But I just personally really just wanted to play it up more. Sorry. Wow.
Yeah, we've sat down and like we would look at one image and there would be like a cameo of another creature from like another image and just kind of put a thing together like that. Like if you look at all the cards like in the pack, you could probably be like, oh yeah, maybe that actually exists within the universe of this card, or like there's a certain situation that's going on with like other creatures and other card images.
Yep. Other events, other relationships. Some cards are directly involved with others. I'm obviously not going to go over all of them, and I do want people to explore on their own if they're very interested in that sort of thing. There's plenty of that to go around in TerraZone. We even sat down and was like, we're like, what could make this affinity more interesting? And we came up with, we can have it like this. So once we start releasing the cards like out there visually for people to see, because I know we don't really have like a library system right now. And that's mostly because we want to finalize the effects first, because we don't want to put a card up and be like, oh no, we have to take that down and change it. Like it'll get really annoying really fast. So we're only going to put cards up when we know, okay, that effect, unless something really major happens, we're not going to touch that card's effect. So we're probably planning to do little releases somewhere, like in a photo album on Facebook or on our own site. We're not quite sure just yet how we want to do that. But once we do open that up, like anyone who's interested, like you can look at the flavor text and the card images and sort of form your own story or go by the context clues. We purposely did that just for a little extra layer of fun, so you can enjoy the game and also theorize and get absorbed by the lore if possible.
Night Phoenix 37 asks, do you have a favorite element to play based on mechanics?
Currently, out of the first 4, and of course there will be a lot more in the future, I have plans so far. Just as a little preview, I have plans for 4 more affinities, and then we may have even more in the future. Plus, of course, archetypes, because that comes in too with most card games. As of right now, from the base 4, I want to say water is personally my most fun. The most fun to me. I like placing them down and messing with my opponent's placement options. And aesthetically, I've just I mean, I know I made a number of them myself and only recently started getting other artists involved. But so more of my favorites are in the water deck personally. And I can forward that question too to Tai2 and Draco if they're interested in answering that.
For me, probably would say fire. Like a very aggressive playstyle. I think it's very balanced as it is right now. Between aggression and risk reward style gameplay.
For me, that would be Wind, not just because dragons, but I really like what they do. They like to blow cards around the field, and I personally really like the play style of messing with the opponent and making a very unpredictable situation for them. So with Wind, it's kind of like you're almost playing a mind game with them and being like, all right, I'm playing 2, if not 3 steps ahead of what the opponent is going to do. And sometimes you're like, nope, I'm actually going to do this thing. I'm sorry, but nope. So I love playing like that.
And I know Earth Deck is probably feeling sad right now, so I'm just gonna throw out there that I know a guy who likes Earth a lot, so Earth's not left out.
Oh yeah.
I would say Earth is my second favorite, honestly. So that's
yeah.
Okay, Plox, Mitchell, I'm sorry if I butchered that, asks, is the game supposed to be played in real life with real cards that can be purchased with real packs/boosters, and you just use Tabletop Simulator as a tool to play online, or is this a digital card game only?
The main aim is to have it be digital because the translation to real life might be a little tough unless we experiment further. For now, we're going to start with a digital release in the future. It could be within the next couple of years, but we definitely keep Tabletop Simulator as a way to actually keep showing the game off, to remind people, yes, we're still a thing, we're still working on this, because I definitely want to communicate with people that are genuinely interested in what we've been doing. I don't want to leave them in the dark like that. And I know a lot of creators out there, they get a lot of like big audiences and things, and then they just go, oh, sorry guys, I'm quitting. And it's just like, oh, and it happens a lot too. But I'm sure they do it for a reason. But that's why, like, that's what motivates me to constantly remind people, yes, we're still, in fact, we're still going, we're still trucking along. It's been a bit of a bumpy, rocky road, but we're still trucking along. And very recently, we've saw a lot of big progress. So for now, tabletop is just the way to play currently. And after this weekend, we're coming up with plans to like have like events where people can try it out again or figure out a good system for that. Meanwhile, we'll be working on a digital release in the future for people to play the game. As far as real life cards, that's going to come with demand, particularly. Like if there's a lot of people that want it to be real and in their own hands, then we'll look into ways to make that possible for people. So short answer, too long didn't read answer. We aim for digital, but if there's enough demand for real life cards, we'll look into it and try to make it a thing.
So logistics for a physical release of a card game like this are just astronomical for a small company like us. So it's just impossible right now to do physical.
Yeah, we looked into it, and it takes a lot of money. We'll need like a warehouse to like store everything and find distributors. There's a lot that goes into that. That's pretty much why we went with the digital route first. Since now everyone's on the computer, everyone's on the internet, very easy access. You can show your creative works off very easily online, and it's only getting better with time.
Are there any other questions at the moment?
There's currently not any on the Discord. However, if anyone has any other questions, feel free to ask. Also, feel free to ask in the Discord TerraZone card game channel as well.
Yeah, pretty much, I guess, just to keep the momentum of like how the discussion is going. So yeah, we're pretty much going in that digital route, and mostly just because, like, just kind of reiterating off of what Zero was saying there, was that, yeah, with that, it also gives opportunity while we're in our development stage. We can very easily make quick changes until we're ready to currently go about this digital route. We're in the very beginning stages of creating actually a single player game that we plan on releasing on Steam.
Yep, because that'll be the originally we were looking into like a Duel Links or a Vanguard Zero-esque like thing, but we realized that's a bit trickier. So we're going to start you got to build your way up when you're doing this sort of stuff. So we're going to start with a single player experience, but we have some really fun ideas. So
oh yeah,
I do hope that people get really interested because we have a lot of cool ideas.
oh yeah.
Just recently we came up with we solved the problem of how can we make this, like, what's something the other card game video games aren't doing. Like, that's always how we're thinking. We're always trying to reinvent the wheel as much as we can, of course. Like the basic, the wheel will still be a wheel, but the wheel it'll be like a different wheel than the others. We try to make it stand out as much as possible because I know there's a lot of material, a lot of material out there, and there's a lot of competition. So whatever little thing you
Oh
can
yeah.
do to stand out is my firm belief on the matter.
Yeah, that kind of even goes to like the development of how the game works. Like, this kind of hybrid board game, card game kind of system that we have going on. We're kind of looking at it being like, all right, what are the other card games not doing? And that kind of trailed off of Zero's main idea of he wanted there to be a lot of little squads of creatures that attack and kind of team up and can beat up on the opponent's creature. I could actually thank What's that?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, you could thank like Taito for kind of just taking that idea and turning it into the board that we currently see. So it took kind of like Rob's idea of there being a lot of little squads, and then he just kind of took it and expanded on it.
If you hear us shuffling around nicknames or real names, we're okay with either, but we haven't committed to one.
Yep.
So I've been like Rob
Yeah.
or Zero, so yeah, you could call him if you want to refer to me. Either
Yeah,
or is fine. But I'm not sure which ultimately, I prefer.
I'm kind of good either way too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you get a little confused by that, that's what's currently going on. It's a little bit of a muddle.
I guess my next question would be, how are we good on as far as like time? Because I know we kind of like had a little block of time that we requested for this. So I guess if there's any other questions, would this be the time to kind of start going into like a demonstration of the second half of the block?
Yeah. Y'all are scheduled until 8:30 p.m., which is 36 minutes from now. Plox Mitchell said again, if you plan to program your own version, that will be a lot of work.
Yep.
Oh yeah, we're fully aware of that.
We're very aware. That's part of the reason why it's going to take a long time. But we have a team, so no one's alone on this. We're all going to take our best contribution and work at it. Like
oh yeah,
Taito will work on the programming ends, and then Draco and I will work on our own little niches in the business. And when we work together, we get stuff done. So we do know it'll take a while, but you got to start somewhere.
To developing games, so yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah, so we could go into the demo. I'm actually going to sit in a slightly different location for this.
And of course, during the demonstration, anyone's, they can keep asking questions if they have more to ask. More than happy to answer them.